some noise for
Orange Juice and a Blunt.
Whoreson, the story of a ghetto pimp. You give it to them, he said. That way they can say they really got some whore money. She came back from the car and gave Tony his $1. She held mine in her hand. You owe me something, she said, and leaned down. I caught Tony's eye. He nodded towards her breast. I winked at him and stood on my toes. I put my hand with $1 in it around her neck, then kissed her on the mouth. She stuck her tongue into my mouth. My eyes opened in surprise. Reaching up with my empty hand, I squeezed her left breast. I ducked my head to miss the blow, if one was coming, before she could move. Tony moved in behind her fast, sticking his hand as high up under her dress as it would go. She screamed, and we ran down the street laughing. Tony yelled to me, "Whoreson, she ain't got no drawers on." People walking down the street stopped and laughed. Big Mama yelled out of the window at us, and the pimps in the car roared with laughter. The other prostitute broke out in a run after us, but when we cut into a gangway that led into an alley, she stopped. After this experience, Tony and I stayed on Hastings. When we were on this street of excitement, everything seemed to happen. Life was full. Perhaps our introduction to vice was premature for our age, but prepared us well for our chosen profession. My mother tried hard during this period to stop me from hanging around pool rooms and trick houses. Her beatings were useless, though. She even tried using coat hangers twisted together. She called them her pimp sticks and used them only when I had been exceptionally bad. Even after she had used coat hangers, I wouldn't stay off the corner. For 2 or 3 days after a severe beating, I would stay close to the house. But when you're young and wild, you soon forget the whippings, or just try not to get caught next time. Tony had started staying at my house 4 nights out of a week, so Jessie whipped him as much as she did me. After I turned 10, she began to see that beatings were not the answer. She discontinued them, except for when we would sneak back out after she went to work. For some reason, she couldn't stand for me to see her working on the streets. At school, our gang had become a terror. We shook down all the kids our age, plus a few of the older ones. We took their lunch money daily, until one day we beat up 2 brothers who had rebelled against our extortion. Their mother came back to the school with the police. The principal informed the officers that Tony and I were the ringleaders. We denied this, but it didn't do any good. The detectives wouldn't believe our lies, so we ended up being escorted home by them. Tony said we were half-brothers and lived together. I think he told this lie to stop them from going to his house, where they might have found narcotics lying around. When the police knocked, Jessie had to get out of the bed to open the door. She just stood there staring at us when the officer pushed us through the door. After listening to the police talk, her eyes began to shoot sparks. We knew there was big trouble ahead. Without answering, Jessie wheeled around and ran to the bedroom. She reappeared swinging her coat hangers. Her large breasts strained to burst free from the sheer nightgown she wore. In her anger, she hadn't bothered to put on one of her housecoats, so the officers could see just about all they desired. They stared with open admiration. Tony was the one she reached first. I was glad of this because I hoped that she would be tired by the time she reached me. As I watched, I began to shiver with fear. She struck with such brutal intensity that I knew Tony wished he had gone home. I had never seen her like this before. When she released him, he squirmed across the floor in torment. She stood there breathing hard, with her hands on her hips. Her eyes seemed wild. Her features were contorted by rage. I tasted fear for the first time in my life. My mouth was dry. My legs trembled. I stared with fear at this dark, angry woman who I could hardly recognize as my mother. When she moved towards me, I jerked back, breaking the policeman's hold on my arm. Before I could maneuver, my progress was halted by Jessie's unyielding grip. It seemed inflexible. No matter how I wiggled, I couldn't break her hold. The pain was inexpressible. The blows landed first on my back and shoulders, then moved down to my buttocks and legs, then back again. I screamed from sheer pain, mingled with terror. She beat me in such a cold fury, I thought she would kill me. She didn't stop until an officer intervened in my behalf. Seething with anger, she stood over me, her eyes blazing. Her voice was harsh and deadly when she spoke. "If I ever hear tale of you taking money from any kids, I'll beat you to death. Do you understand, boy?" Between the whimpers that escaped from me, I managed to nod my head. I believed in my heart that Jessie meant what she said. Before they left, the officers told Jessie it would be ridiculous to whip us again. They must have thought that after the demonstration they had witnessed, the next beating would kill us. Tony and I lay on the floor, side by side. Without speaking about it, we knew our extortion racket had come to a sorry end.